Alright, my name is Brandyn Jaymes. This video is take 2 because apparently I wasn't recording. So, you may or may not know that we're going through the book of Philippians on this channel. We've gone through part 1 already. You can find that linked in one of these corners. The first part of Philippians, that first section, talks of Paul being in prison and having a different perspective than what we would think. Because in prison it's not always a great thing, kind of how we're feeling while in quarantine, but his situation doesn't change his mood. It doesn't change his goals or his perspective. Instead, he's still seeking to share the story of God. And in this next section, Philippians 1:12-26, which we're going to read today, Paul is speaking because people are concerned about him and in his situation. So he's speaking directly to the Christians of Philippi. Paul tells the people that his imprisonment was allowing the Messiah, or Christ, or Jesus, use those interchangeably, to be proclaimed. So in this section, Paul speaks with confidence about his confinement as either further service of God or meeting the God he serves. In all of these things, Paul rejoices. He understands what is truly important, and for him, that's the gospel. Before going any further, take some time to read Philippians 1:12-26 on your own, and then come back to this video. In our own lives, we say we hold certain values. We say that we prioritize our family, our friends, work, school. Certain things we say are important to us. But if we take a step back and we look at how we spend time or money, would those priorities actually line up? Paul is saying that even though he's in prison, he still prioritizes certain things. And then he lives it out. It's not like, oh, I prioritize this, but I'm stuck in prison, so I can't actually do these things. Instead, he focuses on his situation and how, in this situation, he's concerned not with how he's getting out of prison, but with how he's serving God. I encourage you, take a look at your phone's screen time. What apps or time limits are you using on your phone? If you look at your phone's time, you'll see what you prioritize. Do you spend more than an hour on Instagram? More than 4 hours on TikTok? If we look at how we're spending our time, we'll see where our priorities lie. And a second one is, as an experiment, take a day or a week and track down everything that you do. So write down from the start of your day to the end of your day what you do and what amount of time you spent doing it. And then ask yourself, is the information that you gained surprising? Is it unbelievable? Did you expect it? Do your priorities line up with how you spend your time? See, Paul is convinced that he will one day leave prison. So there are two ways that he can do that. He can either be freed and just walk the streets, or he could die. And for Paul, he's saying that either option is fine with him. Either he's going to keep proclaiming the story of God further and further, or he's going to get to meet the author of creation. Either option for him is fine. And he says it as, for me to live is Christ and to die is gain. So Paul has priority even in whatever situation happens. Paul makes these priorities known to the people around him and those who are reading the letter. Outsiders know what his values are, and he sticks to those values. And it's important when thinking of values to actually stick to them. Do people, when they look at you, know what you value and what you stand for? The question then is, if a friend or even a stranger were to look at your life, what would they say you prioritize? Going further into the passage, we know that God gives each person a place. He's placed us in certain areas for certain purposes. For some, that purpose is school. Others, maybe you have a specific roommate, or you're in a specific job field. Maybe you're a stay-at-home parent. But no matter what your situation is, you can use it to serve God. For Paul, he was placed in prison for a reason. And he mentions that his imprisonment even allowed the imperial guards to hear of God. He took this awful situation of being in prison and thought of it as, how can I share God in this situation? Most of us probably watching this video are not in prison. So what is our situation and how can we use it to serve God? And so the question then is, beyond a simple and easy answer of to share the gospel, why do you think God has put you where he has? Who are the people you're supposed to reach out to? And why does it make sense for you to be that person? Finally, Paul speaks of his situation. He speaks to honoring and glorifying Christ throughout the situation. His prison time, and maybe death, and his life leading up to those points can be and are used to bring glory to God. His entire life and perspective show that his priorities are not selfish. They're not selfish ambition. They're not trying to manipulate others. Paul's only goal, both in life and in death, is to seek God and to make God known. And so think again to your situations. Think the ones that God has placed you in. Do you find yourself afraid to share him, and where do those situations happen? What areas of your life are you unwilling to give up to God? And what does that reveal about your priorities? If we can put perspective from the last video and priorities here, we can learn a lot about ourselves and how we relate to others and how we relate to God. And so I leave you with those thoughts and those questions. Again, my name is Brandyn Jaymes. Remember, share the story.